Marcus Holloway stood amidst the glittering crowd at the charity gala, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the girls selling homemade cookies. Ava, a determined teenager with worn-out sneakers, moved through the wealthy attendees, her sales pitch rehearsed but genuine. Marcus observed her, intrigued by her persistence. As Ava approached, Marcus reached for his wallet. "How much for the whole batch?" he asked, his voice calm and authoritative. Ava's eyes widened, recognizing the billionaire. She hesitated, suspicion creeping into her expression. "Why would you want all of them, Mr. Holloway?" Marcus smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Let's just say I have a sweet tooth." He handed her a check, the amount far exceeding the cost of the cookies. Ava's hand trembled as she took it, torn between gratitude and distrust. Later that evening, Marcus's sleek car pulled up to Ava's modest home. Inside, Ava's mother, Sarah, sat at the kitchen table, bills spread before her. The doorbell rang, and Ava answered, her face hardening at the sight of Marcus. "What are you really doing here?" Ava demanded as Marcus stepped inside. Sarah looked up, confusion etched on her tired face. Marcus addressed Sarah directly. "I'm here to help, Mrs. Johnson. I'd like to pay off your debts." Ava stepped between them. "Nothing comes for free. What's the catch, Mr. Holloway?" Marcus met her gaze, respect glimmering in his eyes. "You're right, Ava. I need your help in return. My brother disappeared years ago, and I believe you can help me find him." The room fell silent. Sarah looked between Marcus and Ava, worry creasing her brow. Ava crossed her arms, her mind racing. The money could solve their problems, but at what cost? Marcus waited patiently, his offer hanging in the air like a double-edged sword. Ava and Marcus walked through the rundown neighborhood where Marcus grew up. The contrast between his polished appearance and the dilapidated surroundings was stark. Ava noticed Marcus's tense posture as they approached a small, worn-out barbershop. Inside, an older man looked up, his eyes widening in recognition. "Marcus Holloway. Never thought I'd see you back here," he said, his tone a mix of surprise and wariness. Marcus nodded. "Hello, Ray. We need to talk about my brother." Ray's expression darkened. He flipped the sign to closed and gestured them to the back room. Ava followed, her senses on high alert. The small room smelled of hair products and old cigarettes. "Your brother was into some dangerous stuff, Marcus," Ray said, his voice low. "He owed money to the wrong people." Marcus leaned forward, his calm demeanor cracking slightly. "What kind of dangerous stuff?" Ray hesitated, glancing at Ava. Marcus nodded, indicating it was okay to speak freely. "Drug running, mostly, but he was trying to get out. That's when he disappeared." Ava's mind raced, connecting dots between Marcus's past and her own family struggles. She spoke up, "My mom's been working 2 jobs since I was little. We've always been one step away from losing everything." Her voice trembled slightly, but her gaze remained steady. Marcus turned to her, a mix of sympathy and admiration in his eyes. "That's why I want to help, Ava. I got out, but my brother didn't. Maybe by helping your family, I can make up for not being there for him." The room fell silent. Ray looked between them, understanding dawning on his weathered face. Ava felt the weight of Marcus's words, realizing that this partnership was more than just a business transaction. It was a chance for redemption, for both of them. As they left the barbershop, the gravity of their mission settled over them. Finding Marcus's brother wasn't just about solving a mystery. It was about confronting the past and possibly changing their futures. Ava's phone rang as she and Marcus left Ray's barbershop. Her brother's name flashed on the screen. "Jake? What's wrong?" she answered, tension in her voice. Marcus watched her face pale as she listened. "I'm coming to get you." "Stay put," Ava said firmly, ending the call. She turned to Marcus. "My brother's in trouble. I need to go." Without hesitation, Marcus offered his car and driver. They sped through the city, Ava directing them to a run-down apartment complex. She rushed out, Marcus following close behind. They found Jake in a dimly lit stairwell, surrounded by a group of tough-looking teens. Ava pushed through, grabbing her brother's arm. "What's going on, Jake?" Jake, his eyes darting nervously, mumbled, "It's nothing, Ava. Just hanging out." The group's leader stepped forward, eyeing Marcus suspiciously. This ain't your business, Suit. The kid owes us. Ava stood her ground. What does he owe you? He's gonna move some product for us. Pay off his debt. The leader sneered. Jake looked away, shame evident on his face. I needed money for Mom's meds, Ava. They said it was just one job. Ava's heart sank. She turned to Jake, her voice low and urgent. This isn't the way, Jake. We'll figure something out. Come home. Jake hesitated, torn between his sister and the gang. The leader laughed. He ain't got a choice. He's in too deep now. Marcus, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. There's always a choice, young man. And there are better ways to earn money. The gang leader scoffed, but Marcus's presence clearly unnerved him. Ava seized the moment, pulling Jake towards the exit. We're leaving. Now. As they drove away, Ava's relief gave way to worry. She turned to Marcus. I don't know how to keep him safe. How do I protect him from this? Marcus's expression was grim but determined. We'll figure it out, Ava. Your brother's situation, it's not unlike what happened with mine. We won't let history repeat itself. Ava nodded, realizing that their mission had just become much more personal and urgent. Marcus's phone buzzed incessantly as he dropped Ava and Jake off at their home. He ignored it, knowing what was coming. The next day, he arrived at his family's sprawling estate for their weekly brunch. As soon as he entered the lavish dining room, his mother's disapproving gaze met him. Marcus, darling, we need to talk about your new project, she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. His father, stoic behind his newspaper, grunted. You mean his latest charity case? Marcus sat down, bracing himself. Ava and her family aren't a charity case. They're helping me find Charles. His sister, Vanessa, rolled her eyes. Oh, please, Marcus. You're running around the slums with some teenager? Do you know what people are saying? I don't care what people are saying, Marcus replied firmly. His mother's facade cracked. Well, you should. We've worked too hard to build this family's reputation. You can't throw it all away for some. Some? Somewhat, mother? Marcus challenged, his voice low but intense. His father finally looked up. Son, we understand you want to find Charles, but there are proper channels. Private investigators, not street kids. Marcus stood up, his chair scraping loudly. Ava is smart, determined, and knows the streets in a way your proper channels never will. She's not afraid to get her hands dirty to help her family, something we seem to have forgotten how to do. Vanessa scoffed. Oh, spare us the Nobility Act, Marcus. What happens when you find Charles? You'll bring him back to this life? After everything he did? Marcus paused, the weight of the question hitting him. I don't know, but I know I won't abandon him again. Or Ava. His mother stood, her voice cold. You need to choose, Marcus. This family, or those people. Marcus looked at each of them, seeing the fear and prejudice behind their anger. He shook his head. You're asking the wrong question, Mother. The real choice is between who we pretend to be and who we really are. He walked out, leaving his family in stunned silence. As he drove away, Marcus felt a mix of guilt and relief. He knew he was burning bridges, but for the first time in years, he felt he was on the right path. Ava and Marcus stood before an abandoned warehouse, its rusted gates barely hanging on their hinges. Marcus checked the address on his phone. This is it, the last place Charles was seen. They forced their way inside, flashlights cutting through the gloom. Dust-covered crates and forgotten machinery loomed around them. Ava's eyes darted everywhere, alert for any movement. Look, Marcus said, pointing to a far corner. A makeshift living space was set up, a cot, some crates serving as furniture, and scattered personal items. As they approached, Ava noticed a small, leather-bound book peeking out from under the cot. She picked it up, brushing off the dust. It's a diary, she said, handing it to Marcus. Marcus hesitated before opening it. His eyes widened as he read. It's Charles's handwriting, he said, his voice barely a whisper. Ava watched as Marcus's expression changed from hope to confusion to shock. What does it say? She asked. Marcus looked up, his face pale. Charles was investigating something. A connection between the local gangs and my family's company. Ava's brow furrowed. Your family's involved with gangs? Not directly, it seems. But there's mention of money laundering, using our charitable foundations as a cover. Marcus's voice was strained. Ava's mind raced. That's why he disappeared? He uncovered this? Marcus nodded slowly. And why he couldn't come to me for help? He didn't know who to trust. Ava placed a hand on Marcus's arm. We can use this information, not just to find Charles, but to help the community. Cut off the gang's funding. Marcus looked at her, a mix of admiration and worry in his eyes. It's dangerous, Ava. This goes deeper than I ever imagined. Ava's jaw set determinedly. My brother, your brother, they're both caught up in this. We can't back down now. Marcus nodded, a new resolve in his eyes. You're right, but we need to be smart about this. One wrong move, and we could lose everything. As they left the warehouse, the weight of their discovery hung heavy between them. They had started this journey looking for one missing person, but now found themselves on the brink of uncovering a conspiracy that could shake the foundations of Marcus's world and change Ava's community forever. Marcus's knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel. Beside him, Ava watched the city blur past. They were headed to confront Dominic Carter, Marcus's childhood rival, and now a powerful businessman with rumored ties to the underworld. They pulled up to a sleek office building. You sure about this? Ava asked, eyeing Marcus's tense posture. Marcus nodded grimly. Dominic knows something about Charles. It's time for answers. In the lobby, a receptionist eyed them suspiciously, but let them through after a terse phone call. They rode the elevator in silence, the tension palpable. Dominic's office was all glass and chrome. He stood as they entered, a false smile plastered on his face. Marcus Holloway. What an unexpected pleasure. Marcus cut straight to the point. Where's Charles, Dominic? Dominic's smile faltered. Still hung up on your loser brother? Let it go, Marcus. He made his choices. Ava stepped forward. We know about the money laundering. Through the Holloway Foundation, Dominic's eyes narrowed, focusing on Ava. And who might you be, little girl? Someone who's not afraid of you, Ava shot back. Dominic laughed, but there was no humor in it. You should be. Both of you. He turned to Marcus. You want the truth? Charles was weak. He stumbled onto our operation and couldn't handle it. So we gave him a choice, join us or disappear. Marcus lunged forward, grabbing Dominic's collar. What did you do to him? Dominic didn't flinch. Nothing he didn't ask for. A new identity, a ticket out of the country. He's probably living it up on some beach, far away from your family's legacy. Marcus released him, stepping back in shock. Ava watched the emotions play across his face. Anger, betrayal, and finally, a deep sadness. You're lying, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Dominic straightened his suit. Am I? You know Charles. Always looking for the easy way out. He left you, Marcus. Left you to clean up the mess. Ava saw Marcus's resolve crumbling. She grabbed his arm. We're leaving. Now. As they rode down the elevator, Marcus was silent, lost in thought. Ava spoke softly. He could be lying, Marcus. We can't trust him. Marcus looked at her, his eyes haunted. But what if he's not? What if Charles really did abandon everything, abandon me? Ava held his gaze. Then we find out why. And we finish what he started. As they exited the building, both realized that their search for Charles had become about much more than finding a missing person. It was now a journey of self-discovery, confronting the past, and fighting for a better future. The community center buzzed with nervous energy as Ava and Marcus entered. A group of young adults, mostly in their early 20s, eyed them warily. Ava recognized some faces from her neighborhood, while others were strangers. Marcus stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. Thank you all for coming. We're here because we share a common goal, to make our community safer and stronger. A young man with dreadlocks spoke up. And how's a billionaire gonna help us do that? You gonna buy out the gangs? Ava intervened. Marcus isn't here as a billionaire. He's here as someone who grew up on these streets, just like us. Someone who wants to make a difference. Marcus nodded gratefully at Ava before addressing the group. I know I left this neighborhood, but I never forgot it. Now, I have resources that can help, but you have something even more valuable, knowledge of what's really happening here. A girl with bright blue hair leaned forward. You talking about the money laundering? Through your family's foundation? Marcus didn't flinch. Yes, and I want to stop it, but I can't do it alone. The room fell silent, tension thick in the air. Then, a muscular young man stood up. I'm Jamal. My little brother got caught up with the gangs last year. If you're serious about cleaning up this neighborhood, I'm in. One by one, others voiced their support. Ava watched in amazement as the group began to coalesce around a common purpose. As the meeting progressed, plans were made. Some would gather intelligence on gang activities. Others would work on community outreach programs to keep kids off the streets. Marcus promised legal and financial support to protect them and fund their efforts. As the meeting wrapped up, Ava pulled Marcus aside. That was incredible. But what about your brother? And mine? Marcus's face grew serious. We're not giving up on them, Ava. But this is bigger than just our families now. We have a chance to make real change here. Ava nodded, understanding the weight of their new responsibility. As they left the community center, surrounded by their new allies, both felt a mix of hope and trepidation. They had started a movement, but the real challenges were just beginning. The unexpected alliance formed that day would become the foundation of their fight against the corruption plaguing their community, and possibly the key to unraveling the mystery of Charles's disappearance. The tip came late one night, a possible sighting of Charles in an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. Ava and Marcus raced there, hearts pounding with anticipation and fear. The factory loomed before them, a hulking shadow against the night sky. They entered cautiously, flashlights sweeping across rusted machinery and debris. A noise from above made them freeze. Charles, Marcus called out, his voice echoing in the vast space. A figure emerged from the shadows on the catwalk above. Marcus. The voice was raspy, unfamiliar. As the man stepped into the light, Marcus gasped. It was Charles, but not as he remembered him. His brother looked haggard, his eyes darting nervously. Charles, what happened to you? Marcus asked, moving closer. Charles backed away. You shouldn't be here, Marcus. It's not safe. Ava spoke up. We're here to help you, Charles. We know about the money laundering, the connection to your family's foundation. Charles's eyes widened in surprise, then narrowed with suspicion. Who are you? I'm Ava. I've been helping Marcus look for you. Charles laughed bitterly. Look for me? I didn't want to be found. Marcus stepped forward, hurt evident in his voice. Why, Charles? Why did you disappear? Charles's composure cracked. To protect you, Marcus. I uncovered something big. Not just the money laundering, but where it leads. It goes all the way to the top, to people even our family can't touch. What people? Ava asked. Charles shook his head. Politicians, judges, cops. The whole system is corrupt. I tried to gather evidence, to expose it all, but they caught on. I had to disappear to finish what I started. Marcus reached out to his brother. You should have come to me. We could have faced this together. Charles's eyes filled with tears. I couldn't risk your life, Marcus. You had escaped this world. I thought I was protecting you. The brothers embraced, years of separation and misunderstanding melting away. Ava watched, her own eyes moist, realizing the true depth of the situation they were in. As they left the factory, Charles in tow, the gravity of their discovery settled over them. They had found Charles, but in doing so, they had stumbled upon a conspiracy far larger and more dangerous than they had imagined. The real fight was just beginning. The safe house was small but secure, hidden in a quiet suburb. Marcus, Ava, and Charles sat around a rickety table, tension thick in the air. The reunion's initial joy had faded, replaced by the weight of their next steps. We can't just go public with this information, Marcus said, running a hand through his hair. The people involved are too powerful. They'd bury it before we could blink. Charles nodded grimly. That's why I've been gathering evidence, building a case. But it's not complete. We need more time. Ava leaned forward, her voice urgent. Time isn't on our side. The longer we wait, the more people in our community suffer. The gangs are getting bolder, recruiting younger kids. Marcus turned to his brother. Charles, if you come home now, we can protect you. Use our family's resources to finish this the right way. Charles shook his head. It's not that simple, Marcus. If I resurface, they'll know I'm still a threat. They might come after you, or Ava, or anyone else involved. A heavy silence fell over the room. Ava broke it, her voice determined. What if we use the network we've built? Our community allies could help gather the last pieces of evidence we need. Before anyone could respond, a car screeched to a halt outside. Through the window, they saw several menacing figures approaching the house. "It's them," Charles whispered, fear evident in his voice. "How did they find us?" Marcus stood, his face set. "We don't have time to figure that out now. We need to move." As they rushed to the back door, Ava grabbed Charles's arm. "You have to make a choice now, Charles. Come with us, face this together, or keep running. But remember, it's not just about you anymore." Charles hesitated, years of paranoia warring with the desire to end this chase. Marcus added, "Brother, we can protect you, but we need you to trust us." The sound of the front door being kicked and spurred them into action. Charles looked between Ava and Marcus, saw the determination in their eyes, and made his decision. "Okay," he said, his voice shaky but resolute. "I'm with you. Let's end this together." As they slipped out the back and into the night, all three knew that this decision had set them on a path of no return. The fight ahead would be dangerous, but they faced it united, each bringing their own strengths to the battle against corruption that lay ahead. The abandoned warehouse echoed with shouts and footsteps as Ava, Marcus, and Charles burst through the doors, the gang hot on their heels. They'd been cornered, their safe houses compromised one by one. As they reached a dead end, the gang's leader stepped forward, a smug grin on his face. "End of the line, Holloway. Hand over the evidence, and maybe we'll let you walk away." Suddenly, Ava's phone buzzed. She answered, her face pale. "Jake? Where are you?" The gang leader laughed. "Your brother's been real helpful, sweetheart. Told us everything we needed to know." Ava's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed with determination. "Jake, listen to me. Whatever they promised you, it's not worth it. We can fix this." To everyone's surprise, Ava stepped forward, facing the gang. "You want the truth? Here it is. I've been working with the police from the start." The warehouse erupted in chaos as police sirens wailed outside. Officers stormed in, shouting orders. The gang, caught off guard, were quickly subdued. Marcus stared at Ava in disbelief. "You were undercover this whole time?" Ava nodded, her expression a mix of relief and regret. "I'm sorry for the deception, but we needed to go deep to uncover the full extent of the corruption." As the dust settled, a distinguished man in a suit approached them. "Mr. Holloway, I'm afraid we're not done yet." Marcus recognized him, Judge Harrison, a family friend. "What do you mean?" The judge's face was grim. "We've uncovered evidence linking your father to the top of this criminal enterprise. He's been the mastermind all along." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. Charles grabbed his arm, steadying him. "That's why I ran, Marcus. I discovered Dad's involvement, but I couldn't prove it. I couldn't bear to tell you." As reality sank in, Marcus straightened, his jaw set with determination. "Then let's finish this. No more running, no more hiding. It's time to bring the truth to light, no matter the cost." Ava nodded, standing beside them. "Together, we've come too far to back down now." As they walked out of the warehouse, towards an uncertain future, they knew that this twist had changed everything. The fight against corruption had become deeply personal, testing their loyalties and beliefs. But in uncovering the painful truth, they had also found strength in their unlikely alliance, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead in their quest for justice.